Okay, so we're going to look at font, and there are lots of things that you need to think about as you're doing that. There's going to be a set of lines that we're using, and you can see that there are 3 lines here. A few things to kind of think about, that you are stopping at the top and the bottom of those lines for most of those letters, but you do have things that are called ascenders, so that's like up, okay, things that are going to go above that, and then descenders, so ones that go below. It's kind of hard to draw a Y without having that tail come down. I mean, same thing with the G. You have things called serifs, and so those are the little things that are on the end of the letters, okay? And then if you have, or if you select a font that is a sans serif font, that means without this, okay? And so we'll look and kind of talk about a few of those things. As you look at some of these, they make like all of the bars, right? All of these areas are the same on all of the letters, like the thickness of them. All of the, let's see, stems are all the same, okay? And that's how they create unity within the font, to have everything look like the G and the I match, okay? So it doesn't look like you have one font and then it changes to something else. So these are just things to think about, and we'll look at our worksheet or our layouts. There is a really neat website that is called Dafont.com. You can look through and you can find all kinds of different fonts that other people have made, okay? And you can sort them by all different categories, like we talked about, the basic kind of stuff like sans serif and serif fonts. So sans serif fonts are the ones that do not have anything, right? Cool Vetica, right? All these things that do not have those little edges on the ends of the letters. Or the serif fonts that are going to have all of those extra kind of little things on them, right? And so what you can do with this font, which I think is neat, so let's pick like a different category. So I picked old school now. What's groovy look like? Okay, so we'll see like what this would look like. So I'm going to do kindness on mine and submit, and then it's going to change that font into, change it for me. Some of them are going to be sensitive to that lowercase and some of them aren't. Some people, they make the font and it's all uppercase no matter like how you type it. So if you want to see like what that looks like with like a lowercase one, you could change that. And so for some of them that will change, but like this one doesn't. Okay, so you are picking a font that you want to use. Okay, and so you would be going through and just checking. There are pages and pages of stuff like this that you can look through and find that you could select that would maybe match what you are drawing. Okay, so something that you feel like you like and matches your quote. So for me, I could scroll all day and look at these, but I'm going to have to pick something. So let's go with this, and I can zoom in and kind of look at those. At least with this one, they are touching, okay? And you can see how I talked about like the stems. All of these are the same thicknesses, right? All of those that go down are the same thickness. All of these curves are the same thickness. You can see like the square edge on all of those. For at least the S's and like that K, there's a little point. And so let me switch over to my camera and we'll kind of draw some of this out. Okay, so I'm going to pick whichever one here that I want to do. And so you can see that there are sections that are like divided. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 11 of these. You're going to need to figure out where the middle, if you want to use this, where the middle of your letter is. Okay, so if I was doing kindness, then I would need to look at that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I've got to figure out how am I going to space this out. I have had people who have made these bigger, like they've gotten rid of some of these lines. So they counted like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they've changed it. You can accommodate this however you want. What they've given you is 11 spaces, and same thing. Some of these didn't print maybe as well, but you have that midline, right? And then you have these lines that are altered. So to make this work, you can't just write kindness in here. Like I watch people, this is what they'll just write that in there. This isn't going to make it look like there's no point in that. It's not going to change what this looks like because you're just writing it normal. Okay, what you have to do is, at least for this one, I have no descenders. I don't have any G's or Y's or P's. Everything is above. So I have to select like where I want to start. And if you remember in school, do you remember writing on something that looked like this, right? Remember that? Okay, so like this is the same kind of thing. This is my middle line right here, and these are my top lines. So I have to accommodate what I am doing with those. So I'm going to do kindness, so K-I-N-D. I'm going to put my D in the middle of this. And so my D needs to touch the top of this and it to fill the entire space. So for this, my D would fit like right here, and it would touch the top, right? And it would go down like that. My N wouldn't go up here, okay? Not with at least the font that I have selected. My N would go, and it would touch this line, right? Okay, same thing. I would just touch this top one for my E. It's amazing when you have something like this, it'll help you draw this better. Okay, and then same thing, my S should fill this section. Okay, and this is going to be honest truth for me. Sometimes I can get so into I am writing and drawing this letter that I misspell it. Okay, because I am like, okay, I got to make this S look right. Got to make this S. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, it's in the wrong box. Okay, and it just happens. Okay, so it's hard to sometimes do that. So you've got to pay attention. So let me go a little faster on these. I'm going to stick this one in the middle. Okay, so I have my letter here. What happens, whoops, and I'm going to need another S, right? What happens with this sometimes is we don't, the layout that we have selected doesn't entirely show the shape that we picked, especially if we don't have letters that go and they touch the very top of it. So you have to think about that. I mean, my K would show some of that. My D, if I have this tilted, sometimes it doesn't show that, but it would show it on the bottom. Okay, so you might be thinking about this one for sure, like how this goes up and down. You would see that. This one, I mean, it's angled out, but you don't see as much of that for the top if it doesn't touch the top. If you were to make it all capital, right, and you would have the I up here, the N, the D, all of those would be enlarged. And then some fonts, if you look on like Dafont, they're like capital or lowercase ones, but they're stretched out, right? So they've changed, like, do you see how these, the height of these is all higher than maybe some of them. This is just, they've changed where this line is, right? So they've pushed that line up, and that's altered what their font is going to look like. Okay, so you are in control of how you draw this. I think this is a great place to look. You don't have to copy something from here, but it does help you with tons and tons of ideas. I mean, maybe you have something that, you know, you want to look and see. I mean, these definitely look Celtic, right? Like that pointy kind of tapered edge on there. Maybe you want something that's sci-fi, okay? And you can look at different things here. Some things are italicized. Some things have like different cutouts in them, okay? All kinds of neat things, graffiti, right? So you can look at like different ways, right? The drippy part of that paint. So all kinds of cool things just to reference. I mean, I'm not saying that I want you to just claim this as your own. You're using it as something to look at so you can gain more knowledge and learn more about what's out there. Okay, so maybe you have something, I don't know, Western, but it's amazing how there is a style, like just that little part right in the center, that makes it look more like that. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at and what we're gonna do.